We'll be getting starting here in 1 minute. I just want to make an announcement for everybody waiting online. Can you leave that open, please? Thank you. Is he here? Is he coming in here, though? Like there, or? Oh, okay. Tell him to come on over if he wants to come late. Okay. All right, we'll be getting started now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Zen Master Sebastian Rizzon, founder of the Zen Art Center and the Mind Light Way School of Zen. I host these Dharma talks on the third Thursday of every month, and guided meditations on the first Thursday from 7 to 8 p.m. And you can also find these streamed live or anytime after on the Mind Light Way School of Zen YouTube channel. I'm glad you're all here tonight. Let's get started. As we move into winter, something changes in the world around us. Everything becomes a little bit quieter. The air is still. The sound doesn't travel the same way. Even the way we move through the life is a little bit different. Winter has a way of telling us to slow down. It gives us an opportunity to reflect and perhaps see the nature of our mind more clearly. When the trees lose their leaves and the animals hibernate, it reveals a different perspective of our world. Likewise, when we sit still and shed our thoughts and preconceived notions, we can also see our world differently. Tonight, I'd like our minds to become a reflection of that aspect of nature. When our thoughts settle into their own form of hibernation, our awareness becomes clear, and we get a different perspective on our lives. And just like the nature around us, this new perspective is not something we create. It's always here. We just didn't notice it before. Before we continue this talk, I'd like us to meditate together to cultivate that same stillness of nature within ourselves so that we can gain a different perspective. For this first meditation, I'd like you to sit comfortably. Allow your hands to rest wherever they naturally fall, and let your eyes close gently. Take in one slow, deep breath, and let it go. Continue breathing slowly and deeply as I talk. There's a quiet that comes after the first winter storm. The snow softens the sound. Nothing is moving. The air is calm. The world feels clear. Imagine your mind like that. No force, no effort, just the quiet that appears when nothing is stirring. Thoughts may come, that's fine. Allow your thoughts to be like small gusts of wind. They move through and pass. Let them appear and let them go. Notice the space between thoughts. Let your mind rest in that openness. If a thought rises, let it rise. If it fades, let it fade. You don't have to follow it. Let your mind settle like snow coming to rest on the ground. Take a slow breath in and let it release naturally. Behind every cloud, the clear sky is there. Behind every thought, your awareness is there. Take a few more slow and deep breaths. Feel the quiet of this moment. When you're ready, you may open your eyes. Now that our minds have settled a little, let's continue on with the mantra meditation. Sit comfortably again. Keep your back straight and upright, but not tense. Relax your shoulders. Let your hands rest naturally in the mudra position, which is right hand, left hand, touching your thumbs, centered in your lap. If you get uncomfortable, feel free to adjust this position or stand up and stretch out for a moment. Take another slow breath in and let it go. In this practice, we use a mantra not to force the mind to be quiet, but to give it a clear, simple point to return to. When thoughts come, they come. When they go, they go. We don't fight them. We don't try to stop them. We simply return to our mantra. The mantra gives the mind something steady, like a single light in the middle of a dark, open field. The mantra could be anything you'd like, but in the spirit of the holiday season, I suggest we use the mantra koan bosal. This is fitting for the holiday seasons because koan bosal is the mantra of the bodhisattva of love and compassion. A bodhisattva is an enlightened teacher that has vowed to help others attain enlightenment. As you breathe in and out, say it silently in your mind. Koan bosal. No rush, no pressure, just a gentle rhythm of the mantra. If your attention drifts, return to the sound of your mantra in your mind. This is just a simple meditation technique that you can use to keep your mind steady and clear. We're going to meditate now together for about 20 minutes or so. So let's begin. and I will hit the muktak to begin the meditation, and when we end in about 20 minutes. free to stretch out a minute if you need to. Thanks again for everyone joining us here and online. As we come back from meditation, let's look a little deeper into the nature of the mind. In Zen, we say the mind is like light. It illuminates everything that we experience. Thoughts are like clouds. They come and go. Sometimes there are many, sometimes there's few. And the activities of our lives, our habits, our reactions, our emotions, are like the wind. When the wind moves, the clouds move. When the wind settles, the clouds settle. But the light of the sun doesn't change. Winter shows us this very clearly. On a still winter morning, when the air is calm and the sky is open, the light feels sharp and clear, with nothing extra and nothing in the way. Our mind works in the same way. When activity settles, our awareness becomes clear on its own. Not because we force it to be clear, but because the clarity is already in its nature. As humans, we gravitate towards light because illumination is the true nature of our mind. People instinctively light candles, hang lanterns, and decorate with warm, bright colors in the darkest time of the year, even without thinking about it. We're expressing something true about the mind. Its natural impulse is to bring light into whatever it feels is dark or confusing. When the mind is calm, the light of awareness appears naturally. When the mind is stirred up with thoughts, it's like the wind gathering clouds which block the light. But the light doesn't disappear. We just don't see it. This idea is the foundation for everything else I'll be talking about tonight. As we move through the holiday season, we see something interesting. People naturally want to help each other. They want to give. They want to support their friends, their families, and their communities. There's a natural impulse to reach out. This impulse is an essential part of nature. The nature of the sun is to give light. The nature of light is to illuminate and provide warmth. This is the same instinct of a bodhisattva. The instinct to care, the instinct to ease suffering, and the instinct to illuminate our true nature. That instinct is the instinct of compassion. However, this same season can also reveal our patterns of behavior. Old habits show up, old expectations, family emotions, stress, frustration, all types of memories, good and bad. All of it comes up more easily this time of year. The resurfacing of these patterns is our karma becoming visible. Not as punishment, not as something wrong. This is just the natural movement of the mind. This is what happens when life becomes a little more intense, a little more emotional, and a little more crowded. Winter helps us see this clearly. When the world becomes quiet, whatever remains unsettled inside us becomes easier to notice. And what's stable inside us becomes easier to trust. This clarity is useful. When we become aware of these patterns, we can respond to them appropriately instead of being pulled by them without knowing. So during the holidays, we can pay attention not only to the compassion that appears, but also the patterns that rise up. Both are part of the path. Both show us something about our mind. And as we recognize these patterns, we don't need to judge them. We can simply notice them. And if we feel the need to, we can adapt our behavior. It's similar to the same way we notice thoughts during meditation. They appear and disappear on their own. Yet we do have agency, and if we want to, we can control what we focus on. This is the beginning of wisdom. Seeing things clearly as they are and reacting appropriately without adding anything extra. This is also where our Zen practice can help. If we observe the seasons, we can see how it reflects in our own nature. Spring and summer are a time for growth and blossoming. Fall is the harvest. And winter is the time for stillness. As we look at all the seasons, we can see how it reflects in our lives and in our practice. In our practice, we sit, we breathe, we move, we grow, blossom, and harvest the fruit of our labor, all while bringing our attention back to this moment again and again. This steady practice of bringing your attention back creates foundation energy. The stability that comes from this consistent practice gives us insight and clarity about ourselves and the world. In winter, nature does something important. Energy turns itself inward. The trees draw their nutrients down to their roots. Animals rest, while the seeds of the plants rest in the ground. Winter can seem like a void, but it's not emptiness in the sense of nothing happening. It's potential gathering. Seeds look quiet, but inside them is everything they need for the blossoms of the spring and summer and the harvest of the fall. The mind works in the same way. When our thoughts settle, the mind becomes still. It may look like nothing's happening, but actually, this is where insight begins. This is where clarity begins. This is where potential transforms into actuality. Winter is not about the absence of life, it's life gathering itself. And meditation is the same. When the mind becomes quiet, it gathers strength and potential. It gathers possibility. It becomes steady. Our mind has seasons too. It's reflected in our lives every day. To feel complete, we need to experience growth, rest, replenishment, and stillness. This is why I always say to practice regularly and consistently, not only when life feels easy or when it becomes difficult. Foundation energy doesn't come from a single moment of meditation. It comes from returning to the practice of bringing our attention into this moment over and over again. Just like winter, the stillness of our mind gives us stable ground from which everything else can grow. Winter also brings us the new year. We usually think of it as a fresh start, a clean moment, a chance to begin again. But here's a question for you. What is it that begins? The New Year's is actually something the mind creates. We take one moment in time and we draw a boundary around it. We call everything preceding it the past and everything that's coming the future. From this one point, we reflect on what has happened, what's happening now, and what we predict will happen next. But what is it that remains constant throughout? Here's a koan for you. Where is the only point from which you can see the past, the present, and the future all at once? Any answers? It's the mind. Only your mind can perceive those. And your awareness is what holds them together. The calendar turns, the numbers change, but awareness continues and remains constant throughout. Something new doesn't begin out there. It begins the moment you let go of your last thought. Beginning is not a date. A new beginning occurs in every moment of clarity. When the mind is clouded with thoughts, your outlook will be clouded, and you'll be limited by the clouds you see on the horizon. When the mind is clear, you'll realize the path goes beyond where your eyes can see, and you'll no longer be limited by your thoughts. If you realize this, then New Year's is just a reminder of a simple truth that's available in every moment. Now is the perfect time to begin again. As we look forward to the year ahead, we often think about adding things, adding goals, adding plans, adding new habits or new ideas. But in Zen, we approach this a little differently. Just like a field must be cleared before anything can be planted, the mind also needs space before anything new can grow. We can prepare for the new year not by adding, but by emptying. When the mind is full of plans, full of expectations, full of stories about what should or shouldn't happen, there isn't much room for anything new to appear. But when the mind becomes open, even for a moment, possibility reveals itself. This is why we practice meditation. Not to stack more ideas into our lives, but to clear the ground, so that true insight and wisdom can appear on their own. When you empty the mind, you make space for clarity, you make space for insight, you make space for the natural movement of your life to unfold. Just like winter prepares the land for spring, stillness prepares the mind for the year ahead. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to plan every detail. You just need to create the space where something real can grow. That space is created through emptiness, not through addition. When the ground is clear, whatever you plant will grow more easily. And whatever you don't need will fall away on its own. As we look at this, we can see how naturally these themes fit together. Winter shows us quiet. It shows us stillness. It shows us how things reveal themselves when the world settles down. The holidays show us our natural instinct to support one another, to give, to care, to show compassion. And they also show us our patterns, the habits and the emotions that rise up when life becomes more intense. New Year's reminds us of something simple. Novelty isn't tied to a date. It's not something outside of us. It begins in every moment of clarity. And it appears anytime the mind becomes clear. Our practice gives us stability. Sitting meditation helps us focus and clear our mind. Moving meditation, treating our actions as our meditation, helps us keep our minds centered on the present moment. Each time we return our attention to the present moment, we strengthen the foundation of clarity that carries us through whatever comes next. All of these teachings point to the same thing. The mind's light is always shining. And when our thoughts settle, like snowflakes resting on the ground, that light illuminates all of nature and reminds us that every moment is a new beginning. I wanted to finish tonight with a short meditation again. So this is just a short guided meditation. Just sit comfortably. Let your hands rest where they naturally fall. Allow your eyes to close. Take a slow, deep breath in and let it go. As you sit here, imagine the world right after a winter storm. The snow is settled. The air is quiet. Nothing is moving. There's a kind of stillness that only appears in that moment. A stillness that doesn't need to be created. It's just there. Imagine your mind like that. Quiet. Open. Unmoving. If a thought appears, let it appear. If it fades, let it fade. You don't need to follow it. Let your mind settle the way snow settles on the ground, naturally, without effort. Take another slow breath in and let it release. Under the snow, the earth is resting. Under your thoughts, your awareness resides. Clear, steady, unchanged. Take another breath. Feel this moment just as it is. When you're ready, Slowly open your eyes. Now, I'll take questions from anyone in the audience here or online. If you want to drop a question in the chat, I'll answer those as well. This can be about any topic that we talked about tonight, anything about Zen, anything about your mind, anything about your life, anything you're curious about. Feel free to ask. This is my favorite part of the class, so the questions are always bring up the best conversations. So please don't hold back if something's on your mind. Yes?
Can you speak a little more about foundational energy or foundation energy?
Foundation energy? Yeah, the question is about foundational energy and asking me to speak about foundational energy. Foundation energy is the energy that powers everything. It runs through, it's like you could call it universal energy. By nature, it's empty. Everything is by nature empty. Like things come and go. Anything that you think is here forever, eventually it's going to disappear and become nothing and return to the emptiness. So foundational energy is harnessing that within yourself. It runs through everything in the universe. It's part of everything. In between every atom, every molecule is emptiness. Even the atoms themselves, you think they have, like, they're made of something, but they're really made of mostly nothing and emptiness. So everything that we can conceive of is empty. And understanding that that runs through yourself, and how do you harness that foundational energy within yourself? It's by, as I talked about in the talk tonight, it's creating space. It's creating that emptiness within yourself. It's putting down every thought you have until your own mind becomes empty. And that creates an incredible amount of energy or potential within yourself. That's where all ideas come from. If you stop thinking, it's like when they talk about some of the most important discoveries that have always been made, people think about them and they think about them and they get nowhere, and then they stop thinking for a minute and the answer pops in their head. So the way you cultivate this within yourself is through foundational practices. In Zen, we use sitting meditation to help us focus our mind and learn how to clear our mind through focus. And then we also apply that to moving meditation or movements or the activities you're doing throughout your day. Those too can become a meditation if you keep your mind completely focused and present in each moment on whatever you're doing. So that's foundational energy and the ways we cultivate it. But the key to really unlocking that potential within yourself is keeping your mind 100% in every moment. And the way I usually suggest to people, if they tell me that's difficult, which it is for pretty much everyone I've ever met, is you have to practice it a little bit every day. So the everyday consistent practice of doing that is the way to create that emptiness, that space, that openness within yourself. And it has a number of practical benefits. As I was saying, like you get, that's where all novelty comes from, all newness, everything new, comes from that space. And, but also, like, if you're thinking about a lot of different things and you try to make a decision, it's difficult, right? But if you can clear your mind for a minute, whatever you have to make a decision about becomes easier. If you're getting an argument with someone and it makes you angry, if you carry that into the next moment, you're gonna treat someone else with anger that they had nothing to do with the original argument. So you're making your ability to react appropriately in every moment becomes better and better and better. So these are just some practical things, but it's also, when you're 100% completely empty, that's what we call getting enlightenment, basically. So, but it just means you're 100% in every moment.
I was going to say it's similar to grounding yourself.
Grounding yourself, is it similar to grounding yourself? I think maybe in the idea, like a foundation is, it's what's in the ground, it's the roots, it's what you put in the ground, it's what you build everything else on top of. Underneath everything is that emptiness. So if you understand that, then everything that you're putting on top of it is sitting on more solid ground. I think I don't typically use the word grounding because I think I'm not 100% sure I understand what it means to other people when I say it. So it may well be the same thing that you're thinking of, but I'm trying to be a little more specific about what it is exactly when I say it. Yes, question?
I've been thinking a lot about the Buddhist concept of faith and how it not like a blind faith, but rooted in a kind of a more mature accountability that you're taking the right step, but then there's still a lot of ambiguity about what the outcome could be. So it does require an element that you could think of as faith. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think I see what you're saying. So the question, I'm going to just say it again to make sure I get it right, but also so that the people who are watching online can hear. The question's about faith and the Buddhist concept of faith and the idea, I guess, the underlying idea that you don't know what's going to happen. And I think I'm missing part of the question. There was another element in there of,
So it's not just blindly trusting or having faith, but you've taken the right steps, you've got all the data, and really you just need to wait for outcomes.
yeah, and I think this is probably so you're saying like it's not exactly a blind faith because you've taken the steps and you just have to wait for the right outcome. Yeah, and I think this may be like a little bit of a slight nuanced difference between some Buddhist practice and Zen Buddhist practice because I don't think they would describe it as faith. I think they just say, I guess, like, kind of trust in your mind, because what else can you trust in, right? So clear your mind, trust in your mind. Is that faith, or is it just the only tool you really have for life?
It's more wisdom, right?
Well, wisdom, I think wisdom is about the application of like how you use things, how you use whatever your knowledge is, how you use your body, how you use your position in life.
But she's saying like knowing you took all the steps, you understand what the outcomes would be. Like, wouldn't that be like having wisdom?
Yeah, I think The main faith, I guess, in, if you want to put it this way, I hesitate to put it this way, but the faith in Zen is that you don't know anything. So why try to occupy yourself with some things you could never know? You trust in your mind, and that will guide you to where you're supposed to be when it's clear. And the main process is trying not to be pushed around by the momentum of the conditions that are surrounding you, and being able to exercise your own agency at the appropriate times.
So when we say like trust in the process, what are we trusting in? The mind, the practice, all of it, something else? Like,
Yeah.
they just trust in the process.
Trust
Maybe
in
it wasn't
trust in the process is kind of like trust that keeping your mind clear, keeping it focused in this moment, is what is going to essentially alleviate your suffering, bring you enlightenment, and bring you into nirvana, if you want to put it in Buddhist terms. There is no other point to these practices, I guess. I mean, I think there's like a lot of practical things that come out of it, in that, like, when your mind is clear, you have less stress, you have less anxiety, you're less likely to be depressed. But ultimately, the only thing you can control is your thoughts, your reactions to things, what happens internally, what you do with your body, and trying to keep your mind clear and focused in the moment is, you can call it faith if you want, that is what produces the best results. In my own personal experience, that's 100% proven. That is what delivers the best results. So it's not faith for me.
Could that also relate almost to the idea of manifestation, of the mind creating your reality based on like what you're focusing on?
The question is about manifestation, right? So does this relate to the ability to manifest things? I think if you worry too much about what you can manifest and not manifest, it's a recipe for disaster in a certain way, because like you don't really know. And I think and so I think it's okay to have ideas and plans, and plan for the future, get a job so you can have food tomorrow or whatever. Like, these are all different levels of manifestation, right? But I don't think like you can, but there's limits, right? So I can't manifest that, if I don't have gas and I put sand in my gas tank, it's gonna run my car. Like, no matter how much I believe in that, it's not gonna change the situation. So I think and the clear mind helps you recognize what the limitations are and what your freedom is in every moment. And then you know how to react appropriately. In Zen, they say everything is mind. So in a certain way, everything is a manifestation of mind. But it's not your mind. It's just everything out there is mind. And it's all one mind. And we're all manifestations in the mind. And it's a mind we share. So the only thing that's separating us is these little boundaries that we've created. Does that make any sense, or is that confusing? The way I heard someone else say this, but I think it's a great example. If it sounds far out to people, I don't know who's gonna tune in and hear this. If that idea that everything is in one mind sounds too ridiculous to comprehend or to even take seriously, when you dream, you have a dream world. Everything you dream about in that world, you have an incredibly vast environment that you're a part of. You have different people. You have an avatar in your dream. You have a person that you are walking through your dream as. But everything in your dream is in your mind, in your personal mind, by most people's definitions. So if we know just like your mind's capable of that, my mind's capable of that, why is it so hard to imagine that is actually what's happening in what we conceive of as our reality, our physical reality?
I've kind of just been thinking about it, just like that analogy with the seasons that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And really, it's like, it's because we're seeing it's winter here, and somewhere else it's summer. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, is there any sort of like parallel you think you can draw to the mind with that? Like, we're here now, working, or like in this, we're settling and we're settling our mind in the winter ideally,
Mm-hmm.
but then like some place or somewhere else, like within the mind, or I don't know, another aspect of us where we're doing that growth, or we're doing that harvesting, or I don't know, is there some, because
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fascinating. So it's one of the things that really triggered like my own deeper realizations about things was when I traveled in 2018. I went this time of year where it's dark and cold and wet. I traveled to Costa Rica, where it's like paradise, 12 hours of sunlight. It was like just before Christmas, on the beach, perfect weather. It's the beginning of their summer. And just the contrast of traveling, getting off the plane there, being in paradise, then coming back was a sharp return to reality where I was like, oh my, and then that actually triggered something in me where I had this deeper realization. I'm gonna say it in words, but it was more profound than what I could explain. But it's just that that your mind can be in all of these places. And it is the only thing that can be, everywhere all at once. It can be in the past. It can be in the future. It can be now. It can be in Costa Rica. Like I felt like that experience, even though I was here in the winter, it was still a deep part of me that I had a great trip, and it was I think just having that and being able to that carried me through the entire winter that year. I felt like that warmth never left me. And I still think about it or remember it every day. I don't know if I'm answering your question directly, but do you have any else you want me to
I was just kind of just thinking about it, and I don't know. Well, yeah, no, I wasn't sure if there's some other aspect of you, I don't know, the soul, or your, but yeah, I mean, it's within the mind. It makes sense.
Yeah, and I think everything is relative to a certain extent, right? So even time, and wherever you are perceiving things from, it affects the way time is moving. It affects how time is moving. Like sometimes it's slower out in space, when you're not, or when you're around something with a lot of gravity, it moves slower. When you're out in space, it moves faster. So if you fly out into space with a watch on, that's synced up to people on Earth. When you come back, it's not synced up anymore. So time does, it's, and so then the only thing that you have to realize is like, what is holding you here? Because your mind can, you can allow your mind to go anywhere you can imagine. Okay, I'm not sure. I just wanted to like make sure I gave this question a lot of space, because I think it's a fascinating question, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking like, because then you could almost like your day could be like all 4 seasons in one if you kind of thought of it that way, and you know, like you settle your mind in the morning, and then you go about your day and you
yeah.
growth, and then you harvest at the end of the day, and then you start the day again. But it's just a matter of perspective. So.
No, and that's definitely like kind of what I was hoping to convey with some of that, those ideas in the talk, that like we are seasonal beings. We reflect nature in a very fractal way. Like in winter, we start to absorb some of the qualities of our surroundings, like the stillness, slowing down, but also we reflect seasonality throughout the day in a fractal sense. Like throughout the day, you'll have different seasons. And I think if you pay attention, you can kind of feel that. And I think that's part of the, like the seasons are like the conditions you can never change, right? They just come. We can't manifest that it's warm and sunny here right now. Well, maybe maybe for a day we could get that, but like, so the seasonality is part of the conditions, but it's like, how do you react? If you're planting seeds in the middle of winter, it's not going to work, right? So if you pay attention to the seasonality of things that are going on around you, then you'll know, like, I plant this, you can just kind of feel like this is the right time to plant the seeds in the spring. And if you've been paying attention to like what seeds came off of what tree and what kind of fruit they produce, then you know what seeds to plant. So that all comes from clarity. But you're in that process, just in that process, you're looking into the past, into the future, connecting all of these dots into this moment and knowing what seed to plant, what season to plant it, and what fruit you're going to get. And sometimes in a tree, it's like 10 years from now, right? So we have this like amazing ability within ourselves that is like magic. If you didn't know, if we didn't see it every day, we'd think it was magic. But that all comes from our own clarity about what's happening in us and what's happening in our environment. And I guess what I'm trying to say is like that foundational clarity is what allows you to connect all of those dots. I have a question in the chat. Hi, Tara. I'm thinking about how Zen practice is helping to reprogram my mind, to undo conditioning, bring more clarity, and getting closer to true nature and oneness. Would you say a bit about this, maybe? Yeah, so I think I have, I'm going to kind of go through this piece by piece. Yeah, I think it does help in that sense. It's like, it's not so much reprogramming maybe, but just peeling off the layers of conditioning that we've allowed. We have certain conditions, right? Like you could be in some sort of toxic relationship or something, but like you have the ability to disentangle from that emotionally and then adapt to where you are to certain degrees. I mean, there's always limiting factors, but like you can allow the conditions to condition you, but then you can also use the clarity to detangle you and understand that like what the conditions are and what your agency is within those conditions. So, and all agency is a product of your mind, your decision making, your actions, and that's all controlled by your mind. If you want to get up out of bed in the morning, you have to like send a message to your body through your mind that says, get out of bed, go to work, do these things, do your to-do list. That's your mind is the driving force behind all of those things every day. And so in that sense, I think it really is helpful to helping with, if you want to call it reprogramming, I'll call it deprogramming, or, you know, taking out the programming and then, you know, reinstalling. I guess it is kind of like you can reinstall your own program, and then that all does. Through these practices, you will find that you build that foundation energy, you build more clarity into your mind. It's easier and easier to let your thoughts go. You don't hold on to them as long. You don't cling to them. And as you get better and better in this process, that is when you get glimpses in those moments of clarity of your true nature. When you start to realize like exactly what the conditions are, how they apply to you, you'll start to realize that a lot of the conditions that you think are permanent or think are real, those delineations are not as solid as you think. And when your mind becomes 100% clear, like I was saying, that's what we call enlightenment. The reason is because there's nothing in your mind. There's no bounds on your mind anymore, and that is oneness. And so that is, and I think you will feel. You don't need to be enlightened to feel oneness. I think I've talked to people. They don't claim to have any sort of enlightenment, but when they look at something in nature that brings them a sense of awe, when they stare up into the stars at night, you just get this feeling that you're part of something else. So you're part of something bigger. That's the calling to you to connect with that. And what I'm suggesting through my Zen teaching and through my own experience is that the way to make that connection stronger is to just let things go, put down your thoughts, allow stillness, allow openness, and allow clarity. When you put everything down, there's still something left. And that's I think what Tara might be referring to when she says oneness. Thanks for the question and the comments. Any more? This was a great conversation. Thank you for the questions. Thank you all for coming tonight. Before we go, I just do want to, first of all, wish you all a happy holiday season and a happy new year. Great to see so many familiar faces. And we are holding our year-end fundraising drive. So this is very important to our organization because it helps us cover our expenses. We try to keep having these classes for free for the general public, but this is what allows us to continue. So we are the Mind Light Way School of Zen is a 501c3 nonprofit. If you want to help us out and help us reach more people, please feel free to check out the table near the door. It tells you how you can leave a donation. Also, there's a description in the description for the video. There's a link for how to do all of that, and we really appreciate it. If there's any way you can help us this year, it will really help us expand in the next year. And I do hold this every third Thursday of every month, 7 to 8 p.m. So the next one's going to be in January after the holidays. We also have guided meditations on the first Thursday of every month. This first Thursday happens to fall on New Year's, so there will not be one this year. And I wish you all a happy New Year. But do something fun instead of, you can meditate on your own. And then we do have the Zen Art and Writers Group. The Writers Group is this Sunday, and then starting again next year, it'll be the second and fourth Sunday, 3:30 to 5 every month for the Writers Group, and then the third Sunday, 3:30 to 5 for the Art Group. And that's probably a lot to take in, so if you need to find this, it's all on the mindlightway.org website. If you're here in person, I invite you all to hang out and chat with us in a more casual form. And thank you very much for coming, and we really appreciate you coming out, joining us, making it a bigger and better community just by showing up. So we really appreciate having you, and have a great holiday season and a happy new year. And I wish you all 10,000 ways of good luck in the new year. Thank you so much for coming.